because I believe that all of these steps, the reason they're so important on how you hire somebody is how you represent yourself, how you present yourself. It's kind of like a new patient. You know, you're setting the tone of who you are, who your practice is, what your expectations are, and that really establishes that for the assistant going forward. And the majority of difficulties and problems that I see in practices if I go in to consult or get questions, it's usually a communication. It's a problem in communication between the assistant and the chiropractor. Chiropractor's too busy, in the practice working, and so is the assistant. So at the end of the day, it's just sort of gone, and they leave and go their separate ways, and things aren't really talked about or troubleshot, or nothing really gets fixed. So a lot of times the complaints of the chiropractor will be like, I didn't know. I wasn't aware they were unhappy. I wasn't aware they were struggling. I didn't, and the complaints or the problems with the assistants are that, they didn't feel heard, or they didn't feel like they could talk to the chiropractor about their issues that were happening, whether it's day to day or, what have you. So communication between the chiropractor and the assistant is vital. And I'm trying to close that gap. And in doing so, it's with simple procedures. And if you have structured, simple procedures that are across the board, then everybody knows what everybody's doing, saying, and what the expectations are. And there is accountability without personal attack. Remember that's a good training and a good philosophy to have in your practice is accountability without personal attack. So when you have a structured list of responsibilities and duties for each assistant, that it's very simple to know who should be doing what and how it should be done. So although I'm very open to being creative and, educating the patients being in the moment, I also believe there has to be some structured guidelines in a practice so that everybody is working together with the same goal and understanding. So there's less miscommunication, So, yes, I will send you all of this. And I do have a detailed on hiring somebody,
Okay.
But you've hired somebody.
Yeah.
So I'll go through it quickly anyway, just so that you have the idea of it. So number one is establishing exactly what you need. It's not too late for this. Exactly what you need to fill that role in the practice. Like write that down and be extremely detailed, very detailed. You're going to think about exactly who you need and what their role is going to be for your practice. Is it going to be somebody that's going to stay with you long term, become your manager, learn everything, that they're your right hand person, that you really don't have to think about things. You can walk in the door and just see patients and let them handle it. So it could be that role. It could be somebody that's part-time that comes in every other weekend, or somebody so it depends on the role, So be specific of what you're looking for your practice right now. What does your practice need? And what does that person look like? Experience, I don't mean visually. I mean, what is their experience? What is their attitude? Are they enthusiastic? Are they open-minded? Do they understand wellness? Like you put that in your list. So, I mean, I'm not out there, but let's face it, we're in the chiropractic world. So we're going to manifest this. So, and your rate of pay. What you're willing to pay and what you can pay are two different things. What you want to pay and what you're willing to pay are two different things. So put that down so you really know exactly what you're looking for. That also helps you be direct with your assistants. That keeps you on track, that this is what I need. So here's what I need from you. ... Okay. So I did a job posting detail outline on how to attract good assistants. Again, I'll send this to you because as an assistant, when I read, I get a lot of job offers, which is great. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to just focus on this, but it's great to see it because it gives me a read on I still can read into that particular office. I can read between the lines on a job posting. what kind of practice that is, what kind of doctor that is. Sometimes I'll read a posting from a chiropractic office, and I can tell that they're in trouble, or I can tell that they don't want to pay a lot. I can tell that I don't want to work with them just from their posting. So if another experienced assistant is reading that, they're not going to look at it. So the way you post and the way you word your ad of what your description, it's also important, the words you use. And sometimes I love the ones that are like pages long, and it's more like a biography on the doctor, I believe in this and subluxation and this and that. And I love it. I love that doctor, but it's the wrong ad to go across the board to attract assistants. You know what I mean? So pay scales, I'm going to talk about that because you're in that position too. So of course it depends on your province, what your minimum wage is. It also depends on the experience of the assistant and the responsibilities you're going to give to the assistant. So, but basically a basic guideline, and you could tweak it according to your minimum wage, but I have $15 to $17, $16 to $18, and $18 to $20. So those are your assistants, depending on what you're looking for, what you're going to expect from them, and what their experience is. They're going to fall into one of those categories. So once you know what you're looking for, you can choose the pay rate for that position. It alleviates you guys. Most chiropractors have a really hard time with that financial understanding. These are generous. You want to build your practice, but you need to make the money to build it, to pay them more. You want to be more generous, but so it's a fine line. So fairness would be no experience at all, but an assistant who is super eager, really flexible, wants to start a new career, they would be $15 to $17. So I'll also talk about once you hire and how to go about increasing and giving raises and such. So 15 to 17, 16 to 18, and 18 to $20. Those are specific assistants that would fall into those categories. So when you run your ad or when you hire and you're making that offer, you've wrote out what you're requiring of them, what you're looking for, so you know what you want them to do. You have interviewed them and met their personality, know their experience. So gauge with one of those. Start with that. So I don't know where you're at, but go with that rate, pay scale. Go in there and work within that, because you cannot go to the top. Like I had a doctor call me last year when he was desperate for an assistant, and she said, I was making $22 at my last office. And he phoned me and he said, she's got a good resume, and she wants $22. That's what she made before. And I said, she's lying. She's not telling the truth. Like, there's no way that assistant was working at, and I knew the position was a physiotherapist assistant. And I said, there's no way she was making $22 an hour. I know she wasn't making. Why did she leave if she was making $22 an hour? There's no way she was. And understanding that everybody goes into an interview and puts their best foot forward, right? It's not so much lying, but you're going to embellish and, make yourself seem as best as you can, so that person's going to be impressed with you. So, excuse me, I would say, be fair to your practice and what you're requiring, and you'll get the right person. Because if, you go ahead and give that person $22, $25 an hour, where do you go from there? Where are you supposed to go in a year? Where's like that? It's a lot. And I want assistants to be successful, but it has to be fair, and there has to be incentive to help you grow your practice so that they grow with you in their career, financially and personally. It's a relationship. So as much as I don't believe in minimum wage, and I actually write this on here for chiropractors to understand, is to consider the person, who that person is who's applying for that minimum wage job. I see a lot of the ads. I see a ton of them, Dr. Isabel. And some of them are really successful practices that are offering minimum wage, but they have a list as long as their arm on what they want the person to do. You're not going to attract the best quality or, you know, the most, I'm not saying that somebody who takes a minimum wage job won't be a great employee, but the fact of the matter is consider who's being attracted to that position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, considering the pay rates, definitely take some consideration, and I'll talk more about that because there's always room to grow. There's always room to develop as the practice grows and as the practice becomes more successful and revenue rises. You know, that generosity can come then, but establish it early on. Have that conversation. You know, making promises in an interview or when you hire somebody and then not following through will create such discontent just like that, you know? So just be reasonable with your own abilities and what you can give and present that and then stick to it. You know, like I said, resentment can creep in on assistant pretty quickly when, you know, they don't get what they were promised, you know? So I have a thing, an outline on reading a resume, reading between the lines on a resume. You've done your interview. I have a list of questions for the interview. You want to know, and you're just starting. So when you start to outline, like I said, I really recommend you sit down with all of your staff, your team, and have them write out their list of responsibilities of what they're doing right now. Have them, what do they think their responsibilities are? And have each of them do that. And then I would sit down with each of them to see how they feel about the responsibilities they have. Because sometimes they're going to tell you, look, I'd rather do all of the social media work and the forms and letters and documents. You know, I've had CAs that are excellent at that. I mean, I miss them. I need one right now. But they're really good at that. You know, I'm not that admin person. I can do all that because of being in it over 25 years. I can draft a letter like that. I can do this, you know, but it's within my scope. But that's not my favorite thing to do. And it's not my best strength. My best strength is being with the patients and being hands-on with the chiropractor, you know, thinking for them and just keeping things running smoothly. That's my best, that's what I like to do the most, is teaching the patients about their care and keeping them going in their care and, you know, encouraging them and things like that. That's my biggest strength, I think, and no wonder, because it's what I love to do. So looking at their list of their responsibilities or the duties, and then looking at all of them, and then working with them to make sure they're doing the things they really do love to do, because you'll get more from them when they're doing what they love to do. And you'll know if what's not getting done. This list this list protocol should be, once it's finished, it should be printed and put in your procedure book. So if you don't have a procedure book, start with that. Start with what the responsibilities of your assistants are. You should start a procedure book and start adding to it. It's a live, living thing, just like your practice. It's going to grow and it's going to change and it's going to get thicker as you go along. So, but what that outline does, and it's great to bring in a new assistant and start establishing these new things with your original assistants. This is a great time to say, here, I'm going to change things and this is what we're going to do. And this is why. Because it really will, again, alleviate who should be doing what. The hardest thing for assistants in groups, if there's multiple, that I would hear as a manager is, you know, I didn't know I was supposed to be doing that. So-and-so said she was going to do that. I don't know how to do that. I haven't been trained on, you know, all these are the things I would hear. So I would have the list, and then I knew they were trained on that. Okay, so when I'm training and as I'm training, I have a list of what I'm going to train that new assistant on. I have them initial it. Because a new assistant, when I'm not there and they're with the other assistants, can say, she didn't show me that. You know? So when the list is there, all of your original assistants will know what she's already been trained on. It helps, you know, and it's accountability. And then there's no discontent or argument or miscommunications amongst the assistants when it's so-and-so's responsibility to, change the voicemail every morning, or to, do all the ultrasounds or do the electrotherapies, or, whatever their responsibilities are. It alleviates arguments. Everybody knows what they should be doing. I found when I did that, the biggest problem I had was having a CA feel like they were getting their toes stepped on if another CA took the initiative to do it for them. They were a little bit offended to say, I'm going to do it. I've got it. Like, that's how much they started to care about their responsibilities, that they didn't want people to think, they weren't doing it. But yeah, have them work as a team. Obviously, train, regardless of front desk assistant, modality assistant, whatever you assign your roles in your practice, it's essential that everybody can do everything. You might have an assistant who loves being at the front desk and another assistant who would rather be in the room. I did, and I was, practice manager, and I still would take over the front desk for an entire shift every now and then, just to get the perspective and stay in that mode of dealing with the patients at the front desk for taking payments, processing payments and appointments. So it also gave me a good idea of what they were doing. It really let me know, the patients really let me know what the assistants that were sitting at the front desk, what they were doing great and what they maybe could have been saying or doing better. So they should be able to work every single position, and they should know how to do everything. And that's why a detailed procedure book is so important, because I've had circumstances where I've had to go out of the province in an emergency and around the holidays, and somebody else is away and there was nobody. And we had an assistant who was come into our office over the holidays with a chiropractic student, her daughter, and open that book and run our practice from our procedure book. So it should be, and it worked. And they were like, it was great. It was all right here. So it's also good and handy for an assistant, even whether you've been there a long time or not. Look, I still once in a while go back and go, how do I do a transfer? What? And I look things up. So it's more efficient. So definitely write out your list of duties and responsibilities. You chose your start date starting Monday. So you chose your start date, and you chose your pay rate. Now, like I said, I have reading the resume, knowing who they are. In your interview, I would ask things like, what is your idea amount of hours? I never ask an assistant, like, how much do you want? Because frankly, I'm not interested. I have an amount that we're willing to pay, and this is what we're going to do. And you'll say that's not enough, and then we'll talk about it then. But asking an assistant, what would you do in this circumstance? It doesn't matter, because you're going to tell them what they will be saying in that circumstance. You're going to completely train this person to your protocols and your procedures. But I will ask things like that, because it just gives me an idea of where they want to go. If I say, what's your idea amount of hours, and the position is 25, and they say, I'd like to work full time. Well, now I know I've got somebody willing to grow, that wants that full-time position. That tells me that. So being aware of their skills, their strengths, if they're super friendly, you can be great with the patient, but you're great and very efficient with every other aspect of the administration. I always found there's those two CAs, that somebody that just wants to, take care of all the administrative duties and keep that nice and tight and organized, and they love to do it, like insurance and things like that. And then you have the other assistant who wants to walk around the office and talk with the patients and encourage the patients and do things like that. So choosing who that person is going to be and seeing what they fit, but also making sure they will be able to do both, whether they're comfortable with it or not. They have to be comfortable with it, because it's part of their job to be able to do everything in the practice. So when you hired her, I'm assuming it's a her.
It is.
But when you hire her, you're going to set out what your expectations are for training. Have that detailed. Try to not be too wishy-washy. I know you're busy and things are sort of can be up in the air, but really put down a schedule. Just like I say to a patient when I book an appointment, I will tell them, let's put it on the schedule. You can always call me and change it if you have to, but let's get you here on the schedule so we hold that space for you. It can always be changed. So make that schedule for that new assistant, okay? So that it's very professional and it sets the tone that we do things in a certain way. We know we're not too, we have fun, but it's not loosey-goosey and, things have to be done. This as my personal opinion on like financial and who the assistant is. So I wrote this, assistants, whether they're experienced or inexperienced, they're mostly interested in their pay rate and the hours. Bottom line, that's almost every job, but especially assistants because it's not usually a full-time job with a set amount. Assistants are from $14 to $22 in this country right now, right? So, but that's what they're interested in. So some of the things you can do is offer incentives in your practice, which is complimentary care for their immediate family. You can't go crazy. You can't have everybody coming in getting adjusted for free. Keep it within their immediate family. You can do, I don't know if you're a multi-practice practitioner center, but you could talk with your associates and everybody else, and you could offer a staff discount for your assistants. If it's for other like massage therapy, acupuncture, orthotics, you can offer incentives with orthotics. Those things are worth their weight in gold. And you also must, I hope, that every assistant that works in your practice is a patient. And I know other doctors say, well, it's hard, they don't want to. Well, then you can't have them there. You need assistants that are, understanding what it is you do and understand the value of what you do so that they can then explain that to patients, So this new assistant, I don't know if she's seen a chiropractor before, has experience, but you're still going to make her your new patient. So you need to book her an initial visit and a report of findings, and then you're going to give her her schedule of care, and she will pre-book her appointments with you in your schedule and follow that. So, you walk the walk and you talk the talk. So I would do that with her. That's the one thing you're going to do when she comes in is say, okay, we're going to set aside a time for an initial visit, and I'm going to put you through everything that I would any other new patient. And whether she's had a chiropractic care before, because trust me, I'll walk into an office and just meet a chiropractor for the first time and I'll say, can you adjust me? That's me. I'll let anybody adjust me. So, but for them, whether they've seen a chiropractor just like a new patient, whether they've seen a chiropractor before, but they're coming to you now, they still need to know who you are and how you're going to operate and how you're going to do things, just like any other doctor does, So start with that, have her in, and then she knows what you're doing. She understands your way of doing things, what you need. So when she's sitting out there and you're in a room, she knows what you're doing in there. And she knows when you're going to come out, and she knows how long you're going to be with this appointment and that appointment. Yeah, so that's why it's very important that they can articulate what it is that you do to patients. And the best way to do that is by doing it themselves and seeing the benefits. That's what I did. That's how I learned. So definitely, like I said, I don't believe in minimum wage for any position in this country. I really don't. I think you're good. Obviously, you get what you pay for. And I've seen ads practitioners are putting on there like pay scale $15 to $20. That's why it's nonsense. That's crazy. Like, what do you just want a bunch of resumes? Like, you're just shooting off a shotgun, seeing where it lands with $15 to $20. Like, you're going to put yourself through a lot of trouble you don't need. So stick in with, what you think you have and where it's deserved. And then you can negotiate and say, here's what incentives we have. You get this, 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 and this from the practice, discounts on supplements, because you want your assistants to be well and healthy and living that wellness lifestyle so they can promote it to your patients. There's the best compliment you can get is having a patient comment on how well your assistants are or how great they seem, you know? That's what you want to hear. I mean, through the pandemic, when we were in emergency care, a lot of patients came in and would say to me, like, you seem so good. Like, how are you so upbeat? How are you, you know, look, I wasn't every day, you know, some days I was like faking it till I make it, you know, but at the same time, I had enough knowledge because of my history and wellness and all that I learned from my practitioners that taking care of myself and showing up every day is the best way to go. So you want them to be well and healthy and energetic, you know. I definitely think you should start an employment agreement. Look, they can be broken. I've said it to doctors before, they can definitely be broken. It doesn't matter. You can let somebody go if they do something wrong, and somebody can leave if they, you know, if they don't want to be there anymore. The idea behind an employment agreement is that it's a structured outline of expectations and sort of a mutual agreement on the terms of how and things are going to progress. That's all. That's all it really is. It's better understanding. It's very professional. Let's the assistant start knowing that you're very serious about her profession as well, that it renders having that agreement with her, that she's valued, you know? And if you want to do any kind of bonus system or incentive, they're great. Just if you ever need help with that and you want to put that in place, I'll do a one-on-one with you and let you know. You can call me, you can email me, we can work through that together. Because I've seen doctors almost go poor trying to meet that bonus system. Like that's it's got to be achievable. It has to be something they can actually achieve. Otherwise, they just become again resentment to the fact. And it has to be reasonable. You know, it has to be earned. I believe in having it earned. So there's nothing like a good incentive to make motivate. Trust me, when we put that in place to say, if we reach this amount of money each month, here's what you get, here's what you get, here's what you get. I've never seen assistants work so hard calling people to get them in for their appointments or collecting, you know, accounts receivable and, you know, explaining the benefits of orthotics and getting a massage. They will work twice as hard to reach that financial goal. And there's nothing wrong with that. So long as they're not pushing an upsell, but they're actually staying on top of everything they should be doing anyway. You know, it's just an incentive. It's not a given, but definitely make sure it's attainable. This is your training period to see really where they're at, and then do an evaluation, bring them in and say, how are you doing? What are you thinking? Get your feedback. I also meant to say in an interview, I always recommend bringing in an assistant, your senior assistant, or if you have a manager, because evaluation before you do it, keep it private, but go to your other assistants and get their feedback. You know, just get their feedback on where they think they are and what they can improve upon. They're the people working with them, you know, so they want them to succeed too. So you do your 3 months orientation, or you did all your orientation, got your employment agreement. In your employment agreement, I highly, highly stress to require a dress code. Look, your dress code can be whatever you want it to be, but there must be some boundaries, and there must be, I believe in that because I've had a lot of comments and complaints from patients about certain dress appearance. Look, I don't want to dim anybody's light. I'm not about that, but it's your practice and they're representing you, and there should be no distraction or confusion. It should be a business, comfortable, casual. But personally, I don't do, I say no to blue jeans if in a bigger center, because you're always going to have that one assistant that's going to come in with ripped jeans and a tank top. So sometimes it has to be that way, you know, or you could say like a dark denim and so forth. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be, you don't want to have to be revisiting that, and you don't want a patient to have to say something to you about one of your assistants and their appearance, you know? So if it's set there, if it's set the way it should be at the beginning, then that's how it is. There's no question. Later on, you don't have to discuss it, you know? So do you have any other questions? Do you have any questions? So yes, because I wanted to do this platform and have this community, because this is where your creativity comes from. You know, when I'd go away to a seminar and I'd meet other assistants and I'd hear other speakers and we'd sit and talk about what they do in their office and they do in their office, one thing you can come away with is like, we should do that, or I want to do that. It really does inspire the assistant and obviously you, as you know, chiropractors, when you're with your like-minded colleagues. So that's what it's all about. Or you walk away from it all and say, hey, we do that. We're doing great. You know, that's a nice feeling. I've gone to seminars like to Parker in Montreal and been there with somewhat newer assistants. And they just kind of look at me like, we're really good, aren't we? And I'm like, yes, we are, because we're already doing all of those things. And that's such a shot in the arm to like a new and experienced assistant. It's a good feeling. And that's what you need more of. You know, we don't have all day long to sit around and tell each other how great we're doing and high-fiving. It just doesn't happen that way all the time. So that's what this is for. That's what this platform is for, to sit and talk with each other and say, hey, you're already doing that. You're doing a great job. And I mean, today, I think you hired well. I think you're paying properly. I think you set your standards. You knew what you want down the road, and that's what you're setting yourself up for. So that's good. A lot of doctors are scrambling and putting anybody they can at that front desk, which is going to hurt them in the long run, you know? So having said that, I put a few things together. One is I wrote down good is the enemy of great. I think, you know, Sigafus or somebody said that once. I'm going to look that up. Bree always tells me, know your quotes, but good is the enemy of great. Okay, so when you're accepting great and saying all things considered, I talk to a lot of doctors and they're like, well, considering I'm doing okay, so far I'm doing okay. We got to get rid of that, because this is what it is. Here we are. The door's unlocked, the sign's open, and here we are to work. So we can't even think about that. Forget about that. It's not that I don't believe in the thing. I'll say this again. I don't want anybody to think I don't believe in COVID. I'm very strict. And early on, when it all started with our protocols and procedures, I told doctors, do not become complacent. Even when things ease up, stay with your protocols and procedures on throughout this pandemic and well after. They're a great foundation for keeping things tight and clean and tidy and everybody knowing what they should do. And I found it even helped patient flow in the practice a little bit better with the wait times and controlling. So I see a lot of good things that came from this. That's what I did. I chose to look at everything that was great and all the benefits of this whole pandemic. So good is the enemy of great. Don't sit around thinking, so far considering, focus on your problem. That's all you're going to have is problems. Think about your solutions and what you need, and the answers will come to you. I do not talk about, look, patients are going to do it. It's going to happen. I made the decision to say, and I told the doctors, we are not talking about vaccines. We are not talking about COVID. We are not talking about should, wouldn't, could, what type. We're not doing it. We're a place of wellness. We are coming in here, at the very least, let's all come into the practice together and take a break from reality. So we create this great atmosphere where we go in every day and we talk about funny things and what's happening, or a movie. It doesn't matter, but it's certainly not about COVID vaccines or anti-vax, not vax, got vax symptoms. Look, I've never seen chiropractic talk more about symptoms than it has in the past years. And we're all about, prevention. So, we got this under control. We're still going to be around, for a very long time, and we're going to be needed. And there's so many people still out there who've never, it's amazing. It excites me to think, there's so many people out there who've never been to a chiropractor before. They're still out there. There's lots of room for us to get out there and build our practice. So I do not talk about any of that. I will talk about anything. I will talk about my dog before I will talk about COVID to somebody. And when I started to do that, a lot of patients, absolutely, you could see it change. So many patients started to comment saying, like, I love coming in here. I wish I could stay. And I've said to some patients, I'm like, there's nobody coming in for the next 10 minutes. You can sit here and chat with me visit me while I'm working, So they love being there. They feel that energy of normalcy. They have a laugh. And if you have patients, this is very old school that I've learned years ago at a seminar somewhere, that if you have a patient that will not leave your practice, because people are very wanting to connect and talk, because they're not, some of them aren't getting that. But if you can't get somebody to leave your practice and, you know, you've got your quota of how many people are already in there, you need them to move on, just start talking about chiropractic care. They're going to leave. As soon as you start talking about their schedule of care and what chiropractic can do, they're out of there like that. I try it. You will see. I've had patients talking. I'm trying to work. And I will say to them, you know what I find about, you know, your adjustments? They're like, okay, I got to go like immediately. So, but keep that attitude. You know, we got to create that ourselves. Patients are going to bring that in. They're stressed. They're, you know, they've got enough to deal with. We cannot add to that. And my personal opinions do not matter. I'm willing to say that. At home, everything I think matters, but not at that practice. It's okay for you, you're their doctor. But for the assistants, they should only be there to encourage and support what you're doing. That's it. You know, if they agree with it, they don't agree with it, it doesn't matter. You know, it is not our place to decide, you know, who the best hockey team is, who should be, you know, vaccinated, who shouldn't, what the symptoms are, what I heard. That has to stop. We have to be the ones to stop that. So I found doing that changes everything. Patients come in a little bit happier because that's what we do in there now. They know that we don't do that in our office. So it's really important to do that, but staying present, you're already doing this. Look around your office, change things up often. Things get very stale. It's easy to do. We're super busy. It can be just having a monthly pamphlet or a seasonal pamphlet that you want to promote more of, or anything. You know, like I will put like, you know, a flu immune at the front desk with a little write up on it, just switching it up. Patients love that. And when they see you changing and doing new things, even if they're small, you're going to use this opportunity of this new team member to excite. Patients are not going to like having a new team member. You know, they're a little bit like, I want to talk to her, not you. But this is a great time to promote your practice and how you're growing, you know? So use that opportunity to explain to your practice patients that we're bringing her in because we're growing, we're thriving, and we want the very best for our patients. So we're adding a team member, and she's very experienced. So we're excited. So words like that to your patients, they're like, this is going to be great. They're excited too. So doing things like that. Check out your procedure book. I always say nobody leaves without an appointment. I will teach this in the chiropractic assistant courses. I will teach referrals. I will teach about scheduling for families. You are more than welcome. All doctors also are available to attend any of the courses I'm teaching to the assistants. So doctors are welcome too. So I'll be teaching that as well. And internal referrals, assistants have a terrible time and feel awkward. They feel like they're trying to drum up business by asking people. They have a hard time. I'm going to teach that. But for right now, I recommend for growth, for anybody who's unsure and booking an appointment.
I'm sorry, Cathy.
So internal referrals, chiropractic assistants have a difficult time across the board generating internal referrals. So for right now, until they attend that course, or if you want more information on covering just that, I would recommend that every assistant should be encouraging consultations. 15-minute consultations with the chiropractor, no charge, just an introductory to see if it's a good fit, and knowing how to articulate that to a patient, because a lot of people think, a consultation, they're going to get care. So they have to be very specific to say, you can spend 15 minutes with a chiropractor and you can ask them some questions on how they would approach your care. So things like that. You will not get care that day, or any kind of intervention, But I hate that word intervention, but you won't get the care unless we have enough time to book an initial visit. So just make sure that they're being really clear about that it's not an actual day for an adjustment and such like that. But 15 minutes to meet the chiropractor and see how they would approach your issue. That's what I always say. Book tons of those consults because, 9 times out of 10, because then it's up to you guys. If your assistants are a little leery of asking for referrals, at the very least, they should be able to book you a bunch of consultations. And then, Dr. Isabel, it's all on you to win that person over. So if you have, like I said, I'm going to send this out to you. And next weekend, I'm going to do a caring for yourself while caring for others. It is for assistants. So far, we're just growing. And maybe it's my time of day because it is a Saturday, 1 to 2. But I'm going to keep doing it until somebody says, hey, I'd rather at this time and that time. And we will stick to an hour. But all doctors are more than welcome for that one. Going forward in the future, of course, I can't stop any doctors from joining, but I do want the assistants in the future, your thoughts, to feel that they have a sense of privacy, and they will be getting those links thereafter so they can speak freely, and we can really troubleshoot and help them to get through their challenges and know what they're doing really great and share with one another. So if you have any other questions, a lot of chiropractors already felt that way, and would be willing to, be an associate. I know lots of great associates that never want to own their own practice, that are happy doing what they do. So, yeah, I think right now is even more than that's doable. That's very doable. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to grow. Take some pressure off yourself for all your hard work as well. Make sure your assistants are calling. Here's one little thing I'll leave you with. With those cancellations and people calling last minute, I totally get that. What I do is I have the assistants and I do it myself. That time of day that they cancel or put their appointment on hold, I will go back on the schedules and check those particular days at that time to see certain patients that usually come in at that time, and I call them, fill those appointments up. Yeah. So that's something they can do, is just always be filling those appointments, look back on that day, who usually is available at that time, give those people a call and see if they want to come in. They probably will. Information, and yes, you can send that to me at our email, your thing, and anything else you have, any other questions you have, Dr. Isabel, please feel free to call me, because as you can see, I love nothing more than talking about what we do. Things I need to be doing. So yeah, it's awesome. Well, listen, take your weekend, enjoy it, relax. Thank you. I think you're doing a lot of great things from what I'm hearing already. I love that you're in that position that you're in. That's good news too. See, even sharing that, you're thriving and you're hiring and you're growing. That's good to hear. That's good information to have. That's amazing. I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad. So take care of yourself, and I will see you very soon.
Thank you.